Hey everybody, welcome once again to another episode of B&B Hockey Talk and Around the NHL. I'm your host, Aaron Bloxel, with my co-host, Mr. Matt Balzer. We're going to jump right into it as we don't have a busy week this week in the NHL as they get ready for the All-Star game. But we're going to go right into the mess in Edmonton. Matt's probably not surprised I'm going to bring this up right away, but Peter Chiarelli. What are you doing, Peter Chiarelli? First, you trade Eberle for Strome. You trade Strome for Spooner, and now Spooner, along with Ty Ratty, are both on waivers. What? I mean, if I'm an Edmonton Oilers fan right now, I am pissed that this guy is managing our team and that another trade deadline's coming up, and this guy still has a job. What's going on, man?
I know, yeah, it's just crazy. So basically, why Spooner and Ratty are on waivers is that Andre Sekera, who's been injured for the first half of the season here, is coming back. But to make room for him and to create the cap space, they have to get rid of some contracts to make room. So it's basically a mismanagement of the cap by Peter Chiarelli, which is just brutal if you have a general manager like that. And then on top of that, he gave Mikko Koskinen a 3-year contract extension today. 3 years worth $13.5 million. That's a $4.5 million cap hit to a guy that still doesn't have that much NHL experience. He's had a decent year so far, 14-10-1 with a 9-10 save percentage and 3 shutouts. But for a guy that's already 30 years old, to give an extension like that, it's very interesting.
Well, and of course, Connor McDavid publicly came out, putting it all on the players and the coaching staff today, saying, if guys don't want to be here, they need to leave because he wants to play with guys that want to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I also saw Adam Larson's comments after their game last night saying he's playing the worst hockey of his career right now. So that's the guy you got for Taylor Hall. Right there. So it's just an absolute mess. It's basically the Oilers. They're just waiting for the hammer to come down on Peter Chiarelli. It'll be really interesting to see what they do exactly at this upcoming trade deadline, because it's basically it's playoffs or bust, I guess, for Chiarelli. Even though I think that's not going to happen. But with those bottom two wild card spots, it's going to be interesting to see which teams actually get in the way things are going right now.
Well, just to recap, in my opinion, the 5 biggest mistakes Chiarelli's made since he's been there so far. We'll start off with, in no particular order. First off, trading Jordan Eberle for Ryan Strome, and now it's turned into pretty much nobody. It's like putting Eberle on waivers. Trading Taylor Hall for Larson. I'm going to go with trading a first and a second-round draft pick for Griffin Reinhart, and that first-round pick turned into Matt Barzal of the New York Islanders. There's 2 more that come to mind right off the bat. The Milan Lucic fiasco, and that was just that year. I mean, there's at least 5 players. I mean, Andrew Ladd, Louis Eriksson, Milan Lucic, they all got $5-6 million. And then even recently, the Drake Caggiula trade for Brandon Manning. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they're trying to make room for defensemen, and they've already got 8 defensemen on their roster. So it makes a lot of sense to me to get rid of some forwards, right?
Yeah, especially with their lack of depth on their wings or whatever. Like I saw they got Yamamoto back, and then we haven't even touched on the Jesse Puljujärvi situation. And what exactly they're going to do there. It's just a complete.
Matt, we lost your voice. I'm not sure what happened to you there, but not sure what you said. All I heard was it was complete, and it sounded like maybe we muted you out because of what you said.
No, sorry. I had a phone call coming on my phone, so it muted me out then. So basically what I was saying, is like the Puljujärvi situation. It's just a complete mess, just the way they sort of handled him. Like I saw he only had like 6 minutes the other night, though he had a couple assists yesterday, but it's just like if you have your top prospect and his confidence is pretty low, it's not good there.
I want to talk about the Metropolitan Division a little bit. The New York Islanders in first now in the Metropolitan. Unbelievable the way they're playing right now. Imagine what a coach can do. Barry Trotz goes into Washington, standing ovation. Fans love him. How badly is Washington missing this guy? And what a turnaround for the Islanders. Not only did they lose Tavares in free agency, but Barzell stepped up, and their goaltending and Leonard and Grice, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like the Washington Capitals right now have lost 5 straight games. But if you actually look at the Metropolitan, you got the Islanders, Blue Jackets, Capitals, and Penguins have all played 48 games now. Yeah. And you got the Islanders on top with 62, and then you got Columbus and Washington at 59, and Pittsburgh at 58. So it's just crazy, this run that the Islanders have gone on. But yeah, Leonard, 15-17-3, 930 save percentage this year with 3 shutouts. And then you look at Grice, 14-8-1, 920 save percentage, 2 shutouts. Just unbelievable. Leonard named first star of the week once again. I forget if it's back-to-back weeks or there was a week in between. But the turnaround, especially for Leonard, with all the alcohol and drug problems, that story that came out before the season, it's just a crazy turnaround, and he's showing why he was that first-round pick with Ottawa. And then I'll give props to their goaltending coach as well, Mitch Korn, who's been with Barry Trotz his entire career through Nashville, Washington, and now the Islanders. And he's done a great job with the goalies wherever he's gone to. You look at Holtby last year, and then the turnaround with Grice and Leonard, and then bringing in Barry Trotz as well. It's just if you look at the goals allowed, they've only allowed 119 goals this year, which is the least amount in the NHL. If you look at last year, they were scoring lots of goals, but they were giving up just as much every game. So just a complete 180 this year on the island.
And of course, Trotz's name keeps coming up for Coach of the Year candidate. That division, I believe the 4 teams you mentioned, Islanders, Columbus, Washington, and Pittsburgh, will all make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They always seem to have to go through each other to get to the Stanley Cup. But Washington, I mean, I don't mind that they're having a slump right now. If they can turn it around and get hot before the playoffs start, I can see them having another long run. Pittsburgh, I mean, you can never count them out. They just got way too much talent there. And Columbus, I mean, they just seem to be that one team that can't get over the hump. The Islanders might be the weirdest team, though, of those all. I mean, we'll see how they succumb to the pressure of the playoffs once it starts. But Columbus, Bobrovsky, suspended by the team for a game last time we talked. And what was the reason for that?
Yeah. So the story came out is it was that game in Tampa Bay. He got pulled in the third period. He went straight to the dressing room, got undressed, took a shower, and by the time Tortorella asked his trainers to go find Bobrovsky to see, because they were expecting him to come back to the bench, which is usually the case. But yeah, by the time they found him, it's just like he was fully dressed and out of his gear. So basically the situation was like if Korpisalo got hurt, they wouldn't have a goalie dressed at that time, and it would have been a really awkward situation. So that's why he was suspended for the game. Like I know for goalies, especially in the NHL, sometimes they take like a couple minutes and go to the room just to look over some footage or just sort of just recuperate themselves before coming to the bench. But this time Bobrovsky, he let his emotions get the best of him, and basically left the building after getting pulled.
Going to the Atlantic, Tampa continues their crazy play. Toronto's really stumbled a bit. Boston loses Tuukka Rask to another concussion. And Montreal, man, Max Domi and guys like Jonathan Drouin and Philip Danault and Shea Weber, Carey Price, they continue to surprise and turn heads. Sitting in that first wild card spot right now in the East, I think the way they're playing right now, I can see them making the playoffs because of Buffalo's slump that they hit. But, man, who would have thought the Domi Galchenyuk trade would have worked out so well for Montreal after the fans were screaming for Bergevin's head after that trade.
Yeah, and I believe Arizona is making their way to Montreal this week, so the Galchenyuk will get his return to Montreal there, and he's actually been playing a lot better of late after starting off with the injury, and then it was a slow start after that. But yeah, the Habs have been playing great. They're tied with Boston in points. They've just played one more game, and then they're just 1 point behind Toronto, who's gone 3-7 in their last 10 games. It's been tough sledging there for Toronto. Like, we look at William Nylander, demoted to the fourth line last game. Only has 1 goal, 4 points in 20 games. This is a guy with his contract is basically making the same amount of money as Patrick Kane this year. And it's showing just not being there at the start of training camp. It's not exactly working out the way the Leafs wanted it to. And especially it's just like you would think by now he'd be gain some points, especially just on the power play with just the firepower that they have. But the one thing I'll be interested in is their back end. What exactly they are going to do with that defense. Because like we had the Jake Gardner situation where he got booed against Colorado, even though he's still a pretty good defenseman. But I think on that right hand side was Zaitsev and Heinze and Ozaganov, I believe is how you pronounce it. You got to make some upgrades there heading towards the playoffs.
Over to the West we go. Just the Western playoffs picture is so crazy right now. Outside of the top 5 teams, I mean, Colorado just finished playing today and lost. And Dallas, who didn't even play, leapfrogged them in the standings.
Yeah.
And between Dallas, Colorado, Vancouver, Minnesota, Anaheim, and Edmonton, I believe that playoff race is going to be pretty crazy. But I don't want to count out Arizona and St. Louis just yet. I mean, they're very close still. They're only 5 points out of a playoff spot. Arizona's 4 points out. And even LA and Chicago, I mean, they've been hot lately. They're not, well, I shouldn't say they're hot. They're hovering around 500, but they're still gaining in the West because of all the teams that I mentioned are playing around 500, and nobody seems to be grabbing the bull by the horn, so to speak. Minnesota tried to make a move. They made the trade Niederreiter with Carolina, and Carolina's also trying to push along with Buffalo for playoffs in the East. So of these teams, which ones do you think are going to make the wild card or the playoffs? Because Dallas right now is top 3 in their division, but tied with wild card. Who do you think is going to make the playoffs? And fill us in on the Niederreiter I guess it was Niederreiter for Rask. Who wins that trade?
Yeah, so just touching on the trade first. Carolina absolutely wins this trade, no doubt. Nino Niederreiter, he's young. He's that power forward, that top 6 guy that Carolina's been looking for. Had 2 goals last night in Edmonton. Has 11 goals, 25 points in 48 games this season, while Rask in 27 games has 1 goal and 7 points. Niederreiter has 3 years left at $5.25 million a year, while Rask has 3 years left at $4 million. And Minnesota also picking up Pontus Ahlberg from Anaheim as well. So it's basically, I think, just some cap relief, I guess, for Minnesota. Otherwise, I don't really understand that trade because even though Niederreiter hadn't gone off to the best start for the season, his upside is really good, especially when he's on the top of his game. He's running over guys. He's putting the puck in the net, and just a really complimentary player for any of those guys in the top 6, especially if you look at the way that Teuvo Teravainen and Sebastian Aho have been playing this year. That's a really good fit right there. And then looking for those last 2 wild cards.
Just imagine in the World Juniors, by the way, when Aho and Rantanen played together.
Oh, and then you throw in Lane and Puljujärvi that was there. It was that was just an insane.
That Finnish team was unreal.
And Ristolainen and Kasperi Kapanen, I believe, were on that team too. Just stacked.
Yeah.
but yeah, getting to those last wild card spots, it's going to be very interesting. Like I think Colorado's going to make it. I think just that top line, just in general, is going to find a way to get them in. The Minnesota Wild, I would put in there. Usually, they always find some way to make the playoffs, and then they'll get eliminated in the first round, something like that. And then it comes down to that second wild card spot, because this is like one of the most interesting or intriguing spots to see who's going to play, because like Dallas has sort of been up and down. Anaheim, after their big losing streak, won a couple games there, but with all the injuries, I still can't see them getting in. So that leaves, well, let's see, we got like Edmonton, man, it's I'll probably have to just go with Dallas for now, but it's so interesting. And then we go to the Canucks here. It's just with Pettersson, like anything's sort of possible, sort of thing, the way that he's been playing. And everybody's back healthy for Vancouver too. And Jacob Markstrom has been great playing in net. I believe since December 6th, he's 11-3-2, .927 save percentage. Only Marc-Andre Fleury has more wins in that time span, and Fleury has 12, which is just crazy how well Markstrom's been playing. And Demko the other night had a really good debut. But yeah, it's sort of a crapshoot to see who exactly is going to get in and who's going to sell and who's going to buy at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you. I believe Colorado, Minnesota, and Dallas will get in. I can see Anaheim maybe pushing Dallas for the last playoff spot, only because I don't think it's possible for them to be playing as bad as they have been for much longer than what they've been playing. Like Ryan Getzlaf was saying the other day that this is the worst he's ever seen this team play. And he said it's frustrating as a professional to go through it. So, and a weird one for you, but the way Binnington's been playing, I can see St. Louis maybe sneaking up and potentially grabbing one of those last spots, just because they have a team that I think could be built to win in the playoffs if they can ever get their act together. It'd be interesting to see if they can sneak in. And unfortunately for Vancouver, I think they'll run out of gas. But the experience down the stretch is going to be great for all their young guys. Edmonton, I just don't see the depth. I don't see them functioning very well. And Arizona is kind of pleasantly surprised that that they're in the thick of things, but I just don't think they have enough talent yet to get over the top either, especially with Antti Ranta out for the season. So that's my prediction there. Why don't you fill us in on the 3 stars, and then let us and then fill us in on the last couple of suspensions as well around the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we had Robin Lehner as the first star. The second star from the New York Rangers, Mika Zibanejad, who's been on an absolute tear of late. Had 5 goals, 7 points in 3 games. He's up to 17 goals and 44 points in 48 games on the season. And then Patrick Kane, the third star, 4 goals, 10 points in 3 games, up to 70 points on the year. As that 70-point group is actually getting up a few more guys up there. We have Kucherov leading the league with 78 points, Rantanen and Gaudreau 73 points. Actually, McDavid 73 points as well, and McKinnon and Kane at 70 points. And I'll shout out Braden Point, who's at 65 points through 49 games, has passed his career high from last year, which was 64 in I believe 81 or 82 games. So man, and in his contract year, man, that guy, it's going to be interesting to see how Tampa's going to fit him under the cap next year.
Yeah, well, that's a great shout out to, of course, one of our fans of the show. And we're going to move on to end this episode, a segment Matt doesn't even know about, but give us something that we should watch on YouTube or see a highlight of that stood out for you over the last 7 days.
Ooh, man, I post a lot of highlights now. I know I'm going to have to try to remember which ones I want to point out. Well,
okay, so while Matt's thinking, I'm going to give you mine. This comes from college hockey. Watch for Canucks prospect Tyler Madden, who now leads all 21-year-olds in university scoring. Scored a great goal on the weekend, and his celebration is worth watching as he does the canoe. So.
Yeah, well, if we want to go out of the country, we can go to the KHL. Canucks former first-round pick Nicholas Jensen pulled off an incredible, I guess you'd call it the fake Forsberg, where he went to reach out with one hand and then pulled the puck back and then roofed it upstairs on the forehand.
Flip on that pullback is just dirty.
Yeah, just crazy good. And then if we want to go for an interesting play from last night, Zach Kassian put Jordan Martinook into their own bench and then decided to keep pushing him on the bench. And Milan Lucic actually pushed Kassian back, saying like that was enough. So if Milan Lucic is saying that's enough, you know you're going overboard there. And then, and then if you want to go for a nice little goal, Nolan Patrick against the Habs the other day had a nice little dangle around Gallagher and then snapped one past Niemi. Would be one out off the top of my head. But yeah, just some great highlights, like Pedersen in his return last night, a nice tip on Besser's shot. It's just crazy, like how the guy, like, he just comes back from injury and he's still a little quiet throughout the game, but he still gets a goal and an assist, which is just crazy.
We'll touch on more on the Canucks, of course, on our Canuck Friday edition. But remember to like and subscribe to us on Facebook, where we post not only this show, but, of course, all the highlights. And if you want just the show, subscribe to us on YouTube, where you can get all of the shows without the GIFs. Much easier to find each recording. So thanks again for watching. We'll be back on Wednesday with our next episode of Around the NHL. And, of course, join us for Friday for our Vancouver Canuck episode, where we're going in a lot more depth, of course, to our favorite team. But remember to comment, like, and share about any team that you want us to talk about, because we're all hockey fans here. We all love this beautiful game. And we will see you guys on Wednesday. Thanks for watching.